Patricia, Patricia. Now, how many times have I told you? You should be weak and wilting and timid, as if the very air around you were charged with peril. But that's namby-pamby, Lulu. I'm not afraid of anything. My dear, do you wish to be a star? A great star? Or do you wish to dispute the championship with Mr. James J. Jeffries? Now, that's more like a lady. A lady. Patricia, life is a book of etiquette and rules. You're born a girl, but you have to learn to be a lady.
Women built like reaching trees, balanced and rooted properly, proportion constructed with needle and thread, double stitched and seamed to the head. A tree weighted down, one branch falls and stands shaky now. She tried, but she can't mend that tree, no fixing bodies that grow naturally. Branch by branch snaps each small reach, strangled by a single niche. If you let another root mesh with yours, you can't move up when they take your floor. Circles spiral down to my core, each story more relevant than the one before, for women connected through earth and roots, through inner strength and hearing the truth. First, a land of fire, passion, bursting lava, introducing Bodicea, a female fuel fire. Rained acid on earth and planted a gypsy. Secondly, we'll visit Tazara, born barefooted and free. The earth breathed out air and the planet grew skin. Fanny Bullock workmen, third women, walked mountains round our tree ring. With earth and air, tight skin bore arteries of ocean. So lastly, let's visit Lake Langu to the kingdom of women. Fanny Bullock workman, Victorian in time, walked round the mountains, it's 1899, with one female Victorian globetrotter stood on an Asian mountain range, on the peak of Karakoram, holding votes for women marked with ink on her page. White snow curves on the valley, looped lace on her petticoat, followed calligraphy looped ink one to another. You know, she wrote in her diary that the mountain had reminded her of a shawl sewn by her grandmother. Not the first female on this desolate hill, not even the second. Majestic gypsy wagons fled this path, India was hostile and freedom beckoned. Tazara of the gypsies walked the mountains, it's 1010. The karmic wheel brings strong women to these mountains time and time again. Gypsy nomads lived before so quietly, listening and whispering with the planet, serving their Mother Earth the best way they could manage. But there are monsters in this world, far worse than the ones sleeping under your bed. Zombies of Watika, feeding off money, power instead. Where did you run to, Grandmama? Many say North India, slightly west to the province of Tartar, or some say Hindu Kush, or was that just your language? You wiped away your footprints in the snow, so bored of all the anguish. Bodicea, Celtic in time, walked the mountains at 16 AD, born from flame-infested fire pits. Will we ever learn from these past flames lit? Pain and grit, too evil to benefit. Bodicea's monster Watika took shape in the form of the Romans. Except for the names, has much really changed? Are we all just fighting for land to reclaim? They took all of her rights for humanity, so she built a battle to balance all the insanity. The past may be past, but the final sand in our hourglass is falling and falling fast. This modern living wasn't meant to last. It's time for the rise of the female outcast. So are the last sunsets preserved in the moisture of the ocean? Can we look at ways to honour female emotion, precision, construction, prediction, intuition and fight? Mother Earth, we have spoken. The darker you make our room, the smallest of lights gets more and more bright. To travel to our last wise woman, we walk the same route through the mountains of Asia and India, to Lake Langu sitting in the solitude of the Himalaya. In a land where women can be tossed aside, our finer woman G Mosu tribe lived in the mountains till present time. For thousands of years to this day, not too far away, the Mosu stayed in solidarity. Blind to a life of government conspiracy, women no myth nor legend on rock share earth each day, where women queens ruled the land, harvest, love, worship and trade. For thousands of years left by shamanistic mix with Buddhist history, realistically was a life of nature and mystery. No living in the world wide web, but a life of simpler things instead. As many things go to the turn of the century, technology, money and reputation was treasury. In came roads, tourists with money-filled nation, unconnecting routes and deforestation. But who cares, right? The modern world of plastic, white and skyscraper height, introducing a common red district of red glowing light. Now don't you think it's strange? All the way back in 1800, workmen stood with ink on her page, asking for women to be the same. Now votes has changed, but 2/3 of our girls are still enslaved. But that's okay, let's build a world of map electric lights. As long as education isn't there, then they won't fight right. My conscience questions, but who might? Someone like you? While foreigner asks, are you born from the bubbling burst of Britannia? I realise this lucid bubble rolls down a drain of tunnel vision, not realising that this modern world's blind from intuition. Should we not talk like that? Will it ruin the ambience of our conversation? Or should we debate lovingly about the issues of our good nation? Migration happened to my grandma from India's classification. Stop repetition of history by taking care of Earth's salvation. Lying under the skies, birds were meant to fly high. Livers of life, 'cause these times is do or die. We didn't make a concept of time to be restricted by timelines. I'm not speaking of a naive idealism. No, in fact, this is nature's realism. Dissing of ease manifested by a need for speed. Can't you see these women were meant to be pioneers of living free? Now our population's attention span functions lower than a goldfish. Companies rubbing their hands together and asking if you're brain stiff. Ignoring problems like the Mosu, humanity is living life turning women into money. Masses of people with their eyes bigger than their belly, don't you think it's funny? We have migration of birds in our legs, filled with the change of seasons in our heads. Learn to support life of wise trees, mammals who are culpable from the birds and the bees. Because in these times, the times you leave behind, just another separate coffin lined up like separate housing. Let's stretch to our roots below gravel flooring. One thing I had not mentioned before is a tree is cut down, life is stored in its roots, life forever cocooned in miles of stretching coots. It's where we came from, and at the end where we became. So if we regenerate back, sewing up the root crack by crack, trees grow in twos, so it's a bit like me and you.